Good evening, everyone. This is Tim Butler from Wyndham TV. It's election time on the 24th of October, and you may have seen these faces on flyers or posters in your area, all telling you to vote number one for them. But who do you choose? Tonight, Wyndham TV is giving you an insight into what some of these Iramoo Ward candidates are about. Feel free to type your questions to our candidates throughout the live stream, and we'll choose a few of them for a Q&A session coming up soon. First up tonight, each candidate will say their name, which suburb they live in, and share just a part of their vision for Windham. Remember, you can find out more about our candidates by clicking on their links in this post. So first, let's start with Darren. Our audience is waiting to hear your vision for Windham. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dhiren Trivedi and I live in Point Cook. Before I begin, I would like to thank all our frontline workers, especially the doctors and nurses. They work really hard, help us coming out from the COVID, not completely, but at least they're trying our best. So I would like to thank you again. My vision for Windham, I chose to contest from Windham because my vision is to develop infrastructure around Windham, improve local facilities, and create jobs for Windham. How is this going to happen? I will talk about this briefly. In terms of infrastructure, we can provide social and economical infrastructure to the people, to the community. We can have more toilets in our parks, which we currently lacking. If you look at a lot of new developments, we barely see any toilets, and people have during the barbecue session they have to cut it short and run home because they have children and there is no facility available. Secondary thing, we've seen a lot of gym equipment being installed by the council, and a lot of people have been using as well. So let's focus on that, and we can install more gym facilities, more gym equipments for local people, so they can enjoy this outdoor activity as well in a fresh environment. Third thing, Aquatic Center. This is my biggest issue. We are sick of seeing this one particular facility that we all have to use among so many people, while our population is increasing 10,000 people a year. Basically, and one aquatic center is not enough for that many people. We have 200,000 plus people around Windham. So let's invest in infrastructure that is within the council's forehand. They can chip in the money and have the facility that will be helpful to a local community. In terms of the job creation, my vision is that let's bring in larger corporation like IKEA and Costco. They are everywhere in Australia. They are everywhere in the world, and we have their presence. So they will create local jobs for local people, and it will eventually benefit everyone. So we really have to back, and this will be a biggest game changer for post-COVID recovery in terms of giving jobs to local in our country.
Thank you very much for that, Darren. Sorry, but your time has run out. Thank you very much for sharing part of your vision for Windham. So next up, we have Cody. Go ahead, please, Cody. You have 2 minutes to speak to the audience.
So my vision for Windham is to have everyone seated at a table that they would not normally be seated at or necessarily invited to. So anyone that is a part of the LGBTIQ community, youth that are struggling. So the reason I ran for council, and one of my biggest priorities if elected, would definitely be implementing resources that we are currently lacking in Windham. For example, youth counselling, mental health counselling for adults, not only youth. So I would definitely, that is definitely my vision. Is it Dilron said, our infrastructure and roads is massive at the moment, and we are lacking behind as a council for that. That's my vision. A little bit shorter than 2 minutes, sorry.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Cody. That's totally fine. Next up, we have Donna. So Donna, if you could please share your vision for Windham with our community. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Donna Wyatt, and I've lived in Windham for the last 25 years, 10 of which have been spent in the Iramoo Ward of Windham Vale. My vision for Windham, I guess, is fairly broad, and it's kind of intertextual as well. So there's actually lots of little parts that actually make up this vision. But basically, I'm wanting a city where every resident feels safe and welcome, and that includes LGBTIQA communities. It includes youth. It includes older people. Includes new migrant communities. I want to see Windham on the tourism calendars because of our great events and festivals. So that means investing in the arts. So I'd really like to see more money go towards the arts. I want to see our sports facilities attract regional sporting events from across the state. We've got one coming, but it'd be really great to, and we've got one existing one, of course, in Eagle Stadium, but it'd be great to have more. I want to see women and children have access to the best MCH nurses that Victoria has to offer. And I want to see every 3 and 4 year old that they can access a subsidised kindergarten place in Windham. In 2022, we've got 3-year-old subsidised kinder coming in, and it'd be really great that we're ready for that. I want to see a public transport system that's integrated and timely to reduce reliance on road transportation. Our roads are clogged. We're in a COVID environment at the moment, of course, so it doesn't seem that bad, but we have very clogged roads. So a greater integrated public transport system would be fabulous. I want to see waste recycling that's done using the most up-to-date technology. I will talk about that a little bit more in the next segment. I want to see service attraction to the area. So I want to see more mental health services come in. I want to see more youth servicing. I want to actually see a justice precinct. And I want to see business innovation where, through greater targeted grants to the area for businesses. I want to see population growth that is managed sustainably and equitably across the suburbs of Windham. And lastly, I want to see council put its money where its mouth is by employing and buying locally. I want to see council working with educational providers to improve our skill gaps.
Thank you very much, Donna. Sorry, we've had to stop you there. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And if you're listening tonight, please feel free to type any questions you like to our candidates throughout the live stream, and we'll choose a few of them for our Q&A session coming up soon. So next on our list is Lisa. Lisa, would you please share your vision for Windham with our Wyndham TV audience, please?
Thanks, Tim. Yes, so I'm Lisa Field and I live in Werebe. So Windham City is a human-centred and sustainable city. There are great schools, services, open spaces and multiple forms of transport and infrastructure to move around. Shopping precincts have the village vibe. People connect and care about the environment. The youth are vocal. Art and heritage are visible. Windham City has great businesses and opportunities. So they're my broad sort of pictures around the vision for Windham. I support a council that is forward-thinking and energised, one that embraces our local talents and assets. I have over 30 years experience in community services, and I've been very engaged in my local community and on council. And in my heart of heart, I know we need more productivity than paperwork. I support a go local first approach in lovable neighbourhoods where we employ local, shop local, play local and give local. I support beautification works, you know, getting those new amenities in the public arena, whether it be e-waste bins, rubbish bins, toilets, seating, drinking fountains, more greening of the suburbs. Some estates are doing quite well and some are really sadly lacking. I'm passionate about community engagement and I envisage a local leadership network where place-based improvements are identified and issues are resolved. Council executives are engaged and do a walk around to approve what needs to happen straight away. I really favour community-led initiatives. I support the arts and culture. I also support bus stops being decorated, murals and around drainways to stop graffiti and vandalism. I support people to continue to work from home to provide them with choice in their transport needs. We need to fast track spending on shared trails and bike lanes. We need to support business, green jobs and our environment. And we need a strong youth voice.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We really appreciate that and appreciate that we only have 2 minutes to get through this. So if you're listening out there, just take that into consideration and make sure you check out the social media pages of all our candidates to find out exactly what their full vision statement is. Okay, so next up tonight, we have Manish. Manish, if you could share your vision for Windham to our audience. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Firstly, I would like to thank to the Windham TV and also Tim Thank you very much to introduce these candidates and myself in this council election. My name is Manish Joshi. I'm living in this Windham since 12 years, and I'm very aware about the problem of the people in this community. But I also offer my values as a vision, experience, commitment to keep moving Windham City in positive directions. I will work towards creating employment, improvement of infrastructure, expanded violence prevention programs, reduce pollution, affordable sports and community facilities, monitoring program for aged care facilities, and open new businesses. Also, I definitely will support small businesses, which one is very they are very struggling to financially problems in these days due to pandemic. This is the main reason due to people are not happy due to this COVID-19. This is the also big issue in these days. And also, I want to support children health and aged care people, and more park also Windham as a greener, quieter and healthier. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Manish. All right, so next up we have Ian. Ian, if you could please share your vision for Windham, or your summary of your vision for Windham. You have 2 minutes, go ahead.
My name is Ian Else. I live in the Iramoo Ward. I've been here for 40 years and live in Werebe. Before I start, I'd just like to express to Tim my thanks, and I think of all the candidates over the last 3 nights for providing this. It is disappointing, though, that not more candidates have taken up the opportunity to present themselves to the community. And I note that Heather is the only sitting councillor who's seeking re-election that has agreed to participate in this. And that really takes me into my first point of my vision for Windham. And that is, I think we need a council that genuinely represents the interests of the community, consults regularly with the community, and works as a team, and are held accountable for their actions and decisions. We also need to retain and build on our diversity of cultures and blend of country, suburban and seaside life. We've gone from being a small country town to what was called a country suburb when I first moved down here, and slowly the suburban areas taking over a lot of the country and seaside life. I think we need to be careful and ensure that we do continue to retain and build on our diversity of cultures. We also have a number of strong community spirits within various parts of the Iramoo Ward. I would seek, as part of my vision, to build on that community spirit and encourage more greater community participation within the ward. Like so many other people have mentioned, it's important that we create more employment opportunities, and we need to do this through attracting more businesses to Windham, and this will allow more people to work locally. I was certainly heartened recently when Windham City announced they were going to try and attract the Qantas head office here, and that's the sort of businesses that I'm talking about, as well as some of the others that the other candidates have mentioned. We definitely need to have a strategic plan to progressively fix our traffic congestion, inadequate roads, car parking and public transport problems. We need better planning that ensures essential infrastructures are put in place where new areas are established. We need to be a leader in sustainable living. Windham needs to be a destination for new residents, tourists and business investors. And we need to assist residents achieve a better work-life balance and ensure recreational, sporting, social and arts facilities are accessible to all.
Thank you very much, Ian. We appreciate that. And just remember, if you are online listening to and watching our live stream event, please put your questions in the comments for our Q&A coming up shortly. Next up, we have Heather Marcus. She will be sharing her vision for Windham, and you have 2 minutes. Heather, go ahead, please. Heather, you will need to unmute yourself. Sorry. Heather, we need you to unmute yourself. For some reason, we can't do it. You'll have to do that yourself. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. As you all know, I have been on council for 15 years, and I believe that we have achieved quite a lot in the 15 years. There are many, many services that we have that none of you would even know, because recently I had to do a international Zoom program, and I had to do it on mental health, and I was amazed at the number of services that we do have. So I have the energy and determination, and I do possess the necessary business and leadership skills required to represent all residents, because I have been a business person for the 50 years that I have been here. My major concern is the business community, and I hear everybody saying jobs, jobs. I want to know how you're going to create them, because it's not going to be the same. It's going to be quite different going into the future. I want a clean, green city. I want where we have beautiful parks where people can go. If we're going to build high-rise flats, we need parks for our people. Our roads, with the new closure of those are going to make the most congested roads that we have ever had, because it all should have gone into a tunnel, but council did not support it. I believe that we need a new strategy for roads, because people are not going to use the public transport. They're going back into their cars, and we council will need to make sure that we have a new roads policy. Our community is our most important. We must communicate, because they have the ideas and many have the skills. We need to have we need to attend to our black spot intersections in many parts of Windham. Planning, I want to make sure that we have a better planning policy where we work with the developers to make sure that all the development is done properly, that they put in the infrastructure before they allow to sell the roads. Community involvement, again, what number one is the most important.
Thank you so much, Heather. Understandably, we've only got 2 minutes, so that was a summary of your vision for Windham. Okay, and next up, we're going to take some questions from our viewers. Our first one will go to Darren. This one is from Eddie Gonzo, and he wants to know, what is your plan for creating jobs? What will your plan be?
Thank you, Eddie, and thank you, team. My plan to create jobs is, again, I'll be lobbying with big businesses, larger corporation, to come and invest in our region. Council has the authority, council has the power to allocate land. And if we are allocating land at appropriate location where our green lands are not getting disturbed, we can bring IKEA, we can bring Costco. It will create hundreds of jobs. It is not going to be 10 or 20 jobs. It is going to be hundreds of jobs. It is a small vision. However, it will help us in post-COVID situation. We need those jobs desperately. And I do not see any other way we can create job. Yes, local businesses are more important, but again, local businesses can invest as much only as much they can, because it is not viable for them to survive post-COVID. And larger corporations, they can afford, and they can give us the job that we need. Our young children's need the job. And I will be backing that until the last moment, until I'm fighting. But if I'm elected, definitely that will be a priority against building up Aquatic Center. If I'll go to infrastructure, that is within the council reach. Council can have the Aquatic Center set up, and that will give jobs to a lot of people who gives swimming classes, people who can manage gym instructors, and people working around, cleaning up within the Aquatic Center. So there are so many ways we can create local jobs, but we have to have a right vision. We have to have the right people on the council. Then only with a collective effort among all, from the all councillors, we can make this happen for Windham. And this is my vision.
Thank you so much for that, Darren. Okay, so our next question will be for Cody. Cody, this one is from Renee Crow. She wants to know, can you clean up existing parkland like Glenorden Reserve, Cambridge, and look after Werebe River?
I would firstly like to thank Renee for this amazing question. I have recently been contacted by, I think many of us candidates have been contacted by the Werebe River Association, and they have asked the same question. Now, I definitely reckon if we get more community engagement, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are getting out at the moment, and post-COVID, those people will still be, hopefully,
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Cody. Okay, our next question, this one's for Donna. Donna, this one is specific to you from Anna Borschen, which doesn't sound quite right. Anna's the first name. She wants, no, actually, we'll give that one a miss. All right. So what are your specific priorities for within Iramoo? Like what, if you had to say what's your 1 or 2 specific priorities, what would they be?
Okay, so really it's to create welcoming neighbourhoods. So we have a wonderfully, wonderfully diverse community across the whole of Windham, and it's how we actually can get those people to connect. Hard to reach communities, particularly, I think, are very, very important to reach. So they can be new migrant communities, they can be refugee communities, they can be LGBTIQA communities. So getting them on board and actually having projects that will that they can lead themselves. So community engagement in that regard is incredibly important. I have a background in health promotion, and I know how we can actually start to reach some of these harder to reach communities and begin to really empower them to take control perhaps of their own spaces. So my major one is around making welcoming communities, also safe communities though too. So to create communities where women, for instance, feel safe going out after dark, and that can be done through infrastructure builds, that can be done through the kinds of planning that we have as well. So I am very, very interested in actually getting our community to come together and to feel safe and welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Donna. Appreciate that. Okay, so next we move on to Lisa. Now, Lisa, this is one that's been in well, on the top of a lot of people's minds, and it's about rates. So this one's from Nessie, if I've pronounced that correctly. Sorry, apologies if I haven't, Nessie. Catania. And she wants to know about, what about lowering rates? What's the deal?
Well, currently Windham Council, like a lot of all councils, the rates are capped. It's something that's set by a higher body. We're not actually able to increase the rate. So they are set at CPI, which I think might be considered quite reasonable, that council is, you know, an expanding urban sprawl environment. And so we need to keep those rates kind of coming in, and they're not going up above CPI. I'm all for spending wisely and ensuring that we get the best value for those rates. I know some people don't have a whole lot of engagement in some of the community events and things going on in their community, and so they may not feel like they're getting the best bang for their buck. All I can say is that we just need to ensure that we do cut the waste and really target those spendings to real improvements to our neighbourhoods and communities, and perhaps, you know, skim off some of that extra stuff. We've had a bit of a fine time in recent years, and I think we need to just really cull it down to be really well spent dollars on those basic needs in the community. When I think about what we need in a community, it is like our parks and our local shops, and, you know, those basic improvements, schools and programs, and that's the focus that I think that rates should be on. Thanks very much, Tim.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Lisa. And apologies, Nessie, we did say raise the rates, I believe, according to Nessie, but we were talking about keeping them low, weren't we, Lisa? That's correct. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, next we're going to move on to Munish. And the question for you, Munish, is What do you believe is the most pressing issue in Iramoo, and how would you deal with that?
Yes. First thing is that your question is first, what is the main issue is in Iramoo and how can I deal with that? Main issue, not a one issue in this Iramoo ward. What I realize that, like a lot of issues in this area. First thing is what I realize that main thing is car parking on transportation at railway stations, because when the people go to the work and early morning and they don't have a parking on proper parking, and they just getting late for on a work, and they just annoying to the council. So my question, because I realize it a lot of time and people are just annoying, and I listen to them in a train, and because when they built the any train station, they know the Manor Lake area is already lot of populations. They know they building the car park only 100 cars or 200 cars, but they need more car. They should be built up double story or 3-story car park over there. And I know the budget depends on the budget of the council, because they have to also spend those money to other resources also, like event or children health or mental health or safety or a lot of things like infrastructure. But the main thing is second and deal is the main thing is without community, without people, any councillor or any mayor, nobody can do that, because they have to be like support from them. So this is the main thing what I realize it. And a lot of things also, safety also in Manor Lakes. Yesterday one thing happened, in the wrong thing happened in the Manor Lakes. I got an email, and a lot of candidates also. So it should not happen. Like also camera, we need a cameras also in the all intersections. And also if any family in this Windham, they are not safer in this Windham, so it's not a good for council. It's not for.
Thank you very much for that, Munish. So unfortunately, our 2 minutes is up. And next we will be moving on to Ian. Ian, there's a question here from Karen Vella, and she would like to know, can we slow down new house builds for infrastructure to catch up? What are your thoughts on that?
Not too sure if we can actually slow down the infrastructure, because I think increasing our population generally is good for the community. It brings more people into the community. It has people spending more locally, and that can be good for businesses, especially in the post-COVID scenario when they're telling us it's going to be potentially years before we get over it. I do agree, however, that if we are going to continue expanding our population, we need to put the infrastructures in place either before or at the same time that we're building these new estates. And I think we also need to ensure that we're just not building residential area after residential area. There needs to be good shopping and other services installed at the same time. And there's been a lot of discussion about the fact that people get stuck in traffic for long periods of time. And I would hate to be living up in Manor Lakes, Jubilee, where potentially just to go down to Old Geelong Road to do some shopping for furniture is potentially a 30 to 45-minute trip. And that's ridiculous in a community of our size. So not only would I support increasing the population, but I would only do so with building the necessary infrastructure and making a lot more services, shopping centres accessible at the time. River Walk is another classic example. Wesley Gardens. I mean, Wesley Gardens has been there for, I would say, 30 years. And it was only when they started building the Kingsley estate that a 7-Eleven popped up. Otherwise, people have to go into town, and that's not good enough in this day and age.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Ian. All right. And to end off the questions from the audience, we'll go to Heather. Heather, what plans do you have to improve infrastructure in the Werebe South area? You have 2 minutes. And you will need to unmute.
Werebe South is an absolutely wonderful area. It's classed as rural roads. So if you understand what rural roads are, they are roads that do not have curbs. Each year we encourage the Werebe South ratepayers to include roads that they want improved. So what we need to do now is to make sure that we work very closely with the residents of Werebe South and ask them which roads they want upgraded first, so that each year we are putting on a road into our budget to make sure that we then put in roads. As you know, the Werebe South is a green wedge which cannot be developed for housing. So, but we have to make sure that we are including better roads for them to make sure that they can travel about, because the harbour is now part of Werebe South. And it is creating many problems because the tractors are coming from property to property and putting mud on roads. So we have to bring back a mud on road committee to try and stop the market gardeners from putting mud on road. We have a lot of work to do at Werebe South, but we need, again, a strategy on our roads and infrastructure. We need to do something about our coastline, which we are doing. We have a coastline strategy. And again, of course, Werebe South has a lot of entertainment. So the roads down there, I think, are the biggest issue that we have at Werebe South. Once we have a better policy on our road infrastructure, then we can increase the beachfront, which is now becoming more popular. But most importantly, it's getting roads to make sure that people can move about in Werebe South. So the strategy on roads is the most important thing that we need to do at this stage.
Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you everybody for those answers. We do hope that everyone watching right now, this is assisting you in your decision making for the upcoming elections. Now let's move on. Our next segment will give the candidates the opportunity to inform us of their plans to support a greener, more sustainable living environment in Windham. So let's start with Darren. You have 2 minutes to give your vision to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. It is a broad subject, Tim, to discuss. However, I'll try to be brief on this. We're very fortunate in Iramoo Ward that Iramoo Ward has a lot of greener area, and Iramoo Ward is comprised of urban and rural community and rural areas. The onus is now on to us, how we maintain, how we preserve our green areas and our wetlands, our waterways, and our shore. There's a huge potential to develop the shore area, but we really have to maintain that it is sustainable. Every single permit will be given from the council. We have to make sure, we have to let the contractors know, we have to let the developers know that it have to have a sustainable vision. Otherwise, no permit will be issued, or else they will be fined. So that is a very important thing to keep in mind. Organizations like Werebe River Association, they're doing fantastic job in looking after our green patches, our rivers, and we have to empower them. Literally, we really have to empower them. We have to back them. We have to back them for the funding from the federal and state government, so that we get a better outcome from them, and eventually it will help the environment. Our recycling, it is going to be the biggest issue now that the central government has banned the export of our recycled material. We'll have to manage our recycle with a better facility. Make sure our facility are equipped. We have a proper system in place. We have proper technology in place so that we can recycle better. So there are so many aspects of my vision. I'll be outlining that on my Facebook page as well. There's a scheme that we can run. We can have solar panels on the roof of every single household. But it has to come from the councillor. It is going to be a collective effort, and I will lay out my strategy. If I'm not winning, regardless, I'll be writing to the future councillors and regarding this strategy, having a solar panel on every single household, as well as the businesses.
Thank you so much for that, Darren. Sorry, we've had to cut you short there. Okay, so next up will be Cody. If you could please speak to the Windham community regarding a greener Windham.
I definitely believe creating more parks and more areas for people to get out and get active would be the best way to kind of make Windham a lot more greener and more sustainable for the environment. Implementing more bins in those areas so that there was no rubbish on the ground. Then again, community engagement would be massive in making sure that the communities are clean, there's no rubbish around. Bringing back the normal size bins. I know the council brought out the new small red bins. I believe that a lot of residents have spoken to me about this issue, that their bins are too small. So not so much dumping, but going to a park to get rid of some rubbish is the easiest solution rather than keeping it at home. So I definitely believe bringing back the bigger bins, and then also having more access to kind of community hubs that would allow residents to be able to go to and find out what they can do to help out with our environment and keeping Windham green. This would be a hub that would implement kind of solar panels on businesses, helping out with waterways, our waterways. So that's definitely what I would do to implement a greener Windham.
Thank you so much for that, Cody. Okay, so next up we will have Donna. Donna, if you could please share with us your plans to support a greener, more sustainable living environment in Windham. You have 2 minutes, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I actually think we need to be bold, like super bold. The time for kind of thinking about this is over. We've got to actually come into action. So we have to, first of all, acknowledge climate change. And we have to actually, as a council, decide that we're actually going to do something ourselves about climate change within the area. So that means a greater focus on reuse, upcycling and recycling. And that can be done through the RDS, the RFS. Support groups who support the Werebe River and other waterways such as Lollipop Creek, where I live, the beautiful Lollipop Creek. These areas we need to be supporting the local groups who are already doing a fabulous job in those areas. I think we actually need to integrate a greater level of participatory urban planning. And by that, I mean giving neighbourhoods, communities and individuals a greater voice in urban planning, particularly the planning around their own areas. I think we should work with local public transport providers to ensure that bus and train services are integrated to reduce the reliance on road transportation. I think public transport is a way forward across Windham. Establishment of green corridors to encourage greater wildlife. We've seen how wonderful it is at Harpley, and there are other ways, that other areas across Iramoo, of course, where we can encourage that through Little River and so on. Develop a plan for all council vehicles and buildings to run on renewable energy. Let's be bold. Like I say, let's actually put our money where our mouth is. Commit to an expanded tree planting program for nature strips and in council-owned parks. Upgrade new and existing parks to include water-resistant plants, more shade, safe, well-lit paths and more park benches. Expand the subsidised worm farm and compost program to include urban farming options, such as vertical farms and free seeds to locals and so on. Expand bicycle and pedestrian pathways and encourage active transportation. Work with state governments to increase the number of bicycle places at our local train stations, once again, to get that commuter element happening.
Thank you so much for that, Donna. Sorry, we've had to cut you short there as well. Okay, next up we have Lisa. Lisa, could you please share with us your vision for a greener and more sustainable Windham, please? You have 2 minutes.
Thanks, Tim. I'm very passionate about the environment. I'm passionate about local people and local places and sustainable development. Some of you might know that I am the acting chair of Werebe River Association and involved in the Windham RDF committee on the Environment and Sustainability Portfolio Committee and done a lot of local initiatives. Also in 2016, I set up a group called Transition Windham. It's all about rebuilding and reimagining our world and moving away from fossil fuels into renewables, reducing our carbon footprint, growing our own and supporting neighbourhood connections. The transition movement has a lot of positive elements, and since starting this in Windham, I've been organising many community events and working closely with the council too. And we need to move to a more regenerative economy, one based on innovation, democracy, reinvestment, self-reliance, diversity and ownership. And I fully support local enterprise and money being returned into the community. I've been active in contributing to the policies and targets and asking questions and developments at council. And I think it's imperative we build awareness around adaptation and mitigation on climate safety, and council to focus more broadly on community climate safety. I think the science of climate change is very clear. We will have more days over 35 degrees. We will experience more flash flooding, and we will have extended bushfire periods. So it is a fairly vulnerable stage for us all. So I support everything we can do to reduce our carbon emissions and take advantage of green jobs. We have the space and we have the talent. In terms of transitioning, I support food security, the gifting economy, and more training and education on this. For regeneration, I support greening our cities, food forests, community gardens and outdoor amenities.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Almost got it all in there, right? Okay, so next we're going to move on to Munish. If you could please share your vision for a greener, more sustainable Windham. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim, sir, once again. So because first thing I want to clarify that we have to get each other together. I can't do alone as a Windham greener. We need to be fresh eyes and new ideas and better communications between our officials and our neighborhood. In these preceding times, it's very crucial to use our resources wisely so that whole community is benefited. We should put more solar panels due to climate change and save the electricity and beneficial for our community. We should put more planting and more parks and upgrade the parks, and also more community centers, and already council done the good job in previous years, but we need to more improvement because people are just putting these issues once again and again. They need more, they need more, they need more. But due to the tight budget, so some things they can't fulfill this all problems. But from my vision is that Windham should be, why Windham is just people, why we are behind a little bit other councils. We should be more like concise and clear about the infrastructure. We should more greener, and also green patch grass, and also more planting and more trees. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Munish. All right, so we're moving on to Ian. Ian, could you please share your vision for a greener, more sustainable Windham?
Thanks, Tim. As I said in my earlier vision, I want to see Windham being a leader in sustainable living. One of the key elements of this is to provide educational material to all businesses and households. I don't think we should assume that everybody within the city of Windham understands the full extent of sustainable living, and quite often people just think of climate change, more trees, recycling, etc. But there is a lot more to sustainable living than those elements, and unless we educate people about it, we're not going to get the improvement in community involvement that I would be hoping for. So certainly education is a key element of being a leader in sustainable living. I would also provide incentives for sustainable living initiatives. I don't think we should assume that we know everything about sustainable living and what is currently available. There are new inventions, new thoughts arising weekly, monthly, and I think we should tap into that and provide some sort of incentive where new initiatives are developed by the people within Windham. I think, as one of the earlier candidates also mentioned, I would have all new homes and businesses that are erected within the city of Windham required to have solar panels installed before they can be occupied. I would also develop a community solar energy site or scheme that could potentially power various parts of our communities, or provide cheaper energy to businesses who we want to attract to create more local jobs. I would certainly continuing the greening of Windham and the planting of trees. What I would be hoping for, though, is that we plant more than just gum trees. We endlessly seem to be planting gum trees, and I know there's good reasons for that. But I think there are other varieties of trees that are native that have the same qualities, that perhaps are safer and add more colour to the environment.
Thank you so much, Ian. Now we'll move on to Heather. Could you please unmute yourself and share your vision for Windham, for a greener, more sustainable Windham, sorry.
Thank you. The environment is everything to me because I was lucky and I was brought up on a 2,000 hectare farm. And if you have ever been able to live on a farm like that, you've got everything. And when you come to the city, you understand what it's like. I will continue to build a cleaner and greener Windham with the work that we've already started. And that is with sustainable housing. We are not doing a very good job. Now, if you look at what our forefathers built, they never had what we have today, but they had beautiful, cool houses in summer, and they were able to have a warm house in winter. So that's something we've got to look at, is the way our houses are. Parks and gardens are very important. And I would like to see a botanical garden. I would like to see our streets with beautiful gardens, flowers and vegetables mixed in. And Foster is a great place to go and visit because that's how they do it. It gives colour, it gives excitement, it's vibrant, and people can pick their own veggies. Our education programs are very sadly lacking, where we need to educate our people on our waste. We have done a good job, but there's a lot to do. We need to make sure waste to energy. We need to bring in the big people to build those plants. We've done some very good work on waste. Now, I don't think any of you know, but our waste is one of our biggest problems that we've got in this world. Clothing, we're buying cheap clothing that is made with petrochemical, and 40% of that is going to our landfill. So that is something that we must do to make sure that we stop this waste we've got. I brought in the single-use plastic policy, but we haven't gone far enough. We really need to make sure that we get rid of all coffee cups and we get rid of absolutely all the plastics. It has to happen. I want to see a street competition. At the moment, our streets are not good because of COVID, but I want to make sure that our people get out there and make beautiful streets. And then cat care comes into our environment. I've been lucky enough to rid this city of...
Terribly sorry there, Heather. We have run out of time. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so what we're going to do now, just before we wrap up, now is your opportunity to tell the people of Windham why they should vote for you. We're going to unmute all of you now and go in order, so wait until you hear your name. You've got 30 seconds. What we want to do is you to tell people, what is your point of difference? What is the reason that people should vote for you and for you alone? You, as I said, you have 30 seconds each. I will stop you after the 30 seconds and we'll start with Darren.
Thank you, Tim. To the people of Windham, I have a clear vision for Windham. I understand the real issue we face in our day-to-day life. I have a young family. I'm experiencing it on everyday basis. So I'm not disconnected to you at all, at any cost. Windham needs new people on the council. Let's give an opportunity to young generation. We will make difference. I have a clear vision. We'll bring jobs here, much needed post-COVID. Let's improve infrastructure. Really needed again.
Thank you so much, Darren. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on. And the next person will be Cody. Cody, you have 30 seconds. Please tell us why we should vote for you.
So I think everyone in Windham should vote for me is because I fight for what I believe is right. I fight for what the community needs. I definitely believe that the council funded services that are in Windham right now are lacking behind extremely and need a complete shake-up. So I'm committed to do that. We need roads that connect Windham and Manor Lakes to Tarneet, allowing people to get from work and school safely, quickly. We need more schools, more done to our parks and recreational places, and more upgrades and things done to our sporting clubs.
Thank you so much, Cody. Appreciate that. And we'll move on to Donna. You have 30 seconds. Donna, please tell us why we should vote for you.
Thanks, Tim. Firstly, I'm not a one-issue candidate. I kind of understand the interconnections between all different areas across Windham. That comes from the fact that I've worked in councils, social planning, health promotion and so on before. I'm actually semi-retired, so I now have the time, energy, as well as the expertise to make a difference to you and your neighbourhoods. Importantly, I actually think outside the square. So when I actually kind of come up with ideas, I don't generally follow a formula. I kind of evaluate things, and that's my research background coming in. But I do like to think about new ways to tackle old problems.
Thank you so much, Donna. Appreciate that. And moving on to Lisa, could you please let us know why we would vote for you and you alone?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Well, look, I'm very committed to our community. I've got at least 10 years active community leadership experience here in Windham. I'm all about working with you and for you, and I'll still be involved and active in Windham, elected or not. I am experienced in community leadership and advocacy work here on the ground in Windham, and I was recognised for some of that work by winning a 2019 Community Volunteer Award in Environment and Sustainability. I'm a people person and I'm pursuing a local leadership network as well to support better engagement. And we just need new leaders. And I think a vote for me is a vote for change. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to Munish. Could you please let us know why we would vote number 1 for you?
Yes, thank you very much, Tim. So once again, I am a very team player, and I have a leadership skills. And as a store person and customer service consultant in public transport Victoria in Australia, I have vast experience in that industry. And also I have a background in business as a government contractor in my country, India country, and multicultural. I belong to the multicultural community, and also I have encouraged me to have a systematic approach to resolve the problems, have a positive outlook, can-do attitude.
Thank you very much, Munish. Thank you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Moving on to Ian, you have 30 seconds. Why would we vote number 1 for you?
The people of Iramoo Ward are my priority, and I'll be representing, working for and consulting with the people of the Iramoo Ward. My upbringing, career, people skills, business expertise, particularly in human resources, employee relations, strategic planning and successfully implementing change, and my commitment to the City of Windham would confidently allow me to represent the diversity of businesses and residents within the Iramoo Ward.
Thank you so much, Ian. All right, and moving on to Heather. Heather, would you like to tell us why we would vote number 1 for you?
Thank you. My vision is to build a cohesive and inclusive community and provide strong leadership. I do have the experience and I have the life skills, which has been proven. My record is based on social justice. I govern with integrity and accountability, and I stand up and I fight for absolutely everyone. I answer most of my emails and my phone calls, and I will cut all wastage in council. I listen to all the residents' concerns, and I am determined to keep the council transparent and to provide financially responsible budgets. And this is what we've got to look at in the future for the next few months, is the budget.
Thank you so much, Heather. We appreciate that. So that generally concludes our live stream event for this evening, unless you have something else that you wanted to raise. Okay, we're all good. All right, fantastic. Look, thank you so much to all of our candidates for participating, and thanks to all of our viewers and your ongoing support for Wyndham TV. Just remember, this is only a snapshot of what your candidates are about. Please refer to their social media pages for more information and questions. Thank you very much and have a great night.